paid to be a pretty face. I landed a software developer job in 2016 at a company supporting realtors. Year-end, I received a mysterious meeting invite from a VP. I showed up, took a seat, and received a message on Teams with scripted lines to recite when called upon. I followed instructions, and after the meeting, the VP praised me. This became a monthly routine. I'd sit in on meetings, sometimes demoing software, but mostly just taking unused notes. Bigwig claimed he wanted me to be aware of the business, but I was low on the totem pole and had no reason to be there. I was flown to cities like Dallas and New York to quietly attend meetings, even dining at a fancy San Francisco restaurant with wealthy strangers discussing golf and contracts. It became clear I was being paid to be a pretty face, not a contributing developer.
Ma'am, I'm just trying to dress my headless child. I was at a closing Kmart store with a friend, buying mannequins and dressing them up as our headless kids. We named them after us and two killers from a movie. As we shopped, people asked us for directions, and we helped. An old woman approached, asking for something we hadn't seen. We thought for a moment, pointed in different directions, and finally agreed it might be on the other side of the store. I said, "Yeah, I think it's there." My friend and I were just trying to be helpful, but it was a funny situation, especially with our headless children in tow.
Ditch the morning grind. I spent years trying to fit the mold of a morning person, waking up at 5 a.m. to be successful, but it only made me miserable. I finally accepted I'm not wired that way. I work second shift, socialize in the evenings, and exercise at night when my energy peaks. I realized this while playing a game on my phone, feeling peaceful living with my natural rhythm instead of against it. My biology craves consistency, not productivity culture. I stopped fighting it, and now I'm more sustainable being myself than trying to be someone else's idea of disciplined. I'm living proof that being yourself is the best way to be, and it's a huge relief to have finally found my groove.
Entitled Thanksgiving guest wants leftovers. I hosted a small Thanksgiving dinner for 8 people, including my cousin Janice, who I rarely see. She arrived late, was on her phone during the blessing, and left before dessert. When she left, I offered her a take-home meal, but she declined, saying she was meeting a friend at the movies. The next day, as my husband and I were heading to a concert, Janice called, asking to swing by for leftovers. I was shocked and told her no, we were already on our way out. She asked if we could turn around, but I said no, suggesting she should have taken leftovers when they were first offered. She was upset, but I stood firm.
Best friend's shocking secret. I'm 32, married, and my best friend of over a decade just dropped a bombshell she's having an affair. She's been married for 3 years and started seeing a coworker 6 months ago. At first she just confided in me, but now she's asking for my help to cover it up. She wants me to lie for her, even asking to use my house as an alibi. I've told her I'm uncomfortable and don't want to be involved, but she's getting angry, saying I'm abandoning her. My husband thinks I should cut her off, but I feel guilty she's been my friend for so long. Now I'm stuck in the middle, unsure what to do. My friend's affair is putting a strain on our friendship, and I'm not sure how to navigate this situation without losing her or compromising my own values. I've made it clear I won't help her deceive her husband, but I'm not sure if that's the end of our friendship. I was scared of conflict. I used to think a good relationship meant no arguments, so I'd let things go, staying quiet when I disagreed and avoiding talks about money or future plans. I thought I was being mature, but really I was just scared of conflict. This approach led to unresolved issues and tension. However, I've recently learned that being a better partner means being honest, even when it's uncomfortable. It's been a challenging but rewarding shift, as finally saying the hard things out loud can feel tense in the moment, but brings more calm afterwards. I've started addressing problems head-on, and it's improved my relationship. I'm now more open and honest with my partner, and we're working through issues together. This new approach has brought us closer, and I'm grateful for the growth and understanding we've gained. I'm still learning, but I'm committed to continuing this journey of honest communication and conflict resolution.
Insane things women do. I asked men to share the most unhinged things their girlfriends or wives do, and the responses were hilarious. From bizarre habits to quirky behaviors, the stories poured in. One guy said his girlfriend talks to herself in different accents, while another claimed his wife has a secret obsession with collecting antique teapots. The stories were endless, and I couldn't help but laugh at the weird and wonderful things women do. As I read through the responses, I couldn't help but feel inspired to become a little more mischievous myself, thanks to the funny and light-hearted tales of the men who shared their experiences.
AITA for refusing to cover a shared cost. I recently started my first full-time job and joined our department's optional team social fund. My coworker Liam manages it, and we send him our monthly contributions directly. I asked Liam for a breakdown of what the money had gone towards, but he kept ignoring my requests. When he reminded me my contribution was due, I asked again, and he still didn't respond. He even ignored my follow-up messages, but responded to others in the group chat. Last week he asked me for my contribution, and I told him I'd send it once I got the breakdown. I just want to know where my money is going, but he's not being transparent. Now I'm not sure what to do, and I'm starting to feel like I'm being taken advantage of. Would I be the jerk for refusing to bring a $100 minimum to Thanksgiving? My family and I celebrate Thanksgiving with my siblings, parents, and their kids, about 25 people. My family is just 2 people with a 6-month-old baby. My nephew decided to cook the meat after buying a grill and suggested we bring sides. He spent $300 on meat. I offered to bring mashed potatoes, but my sister said each family must bring at least $100 worth of food or help my nephew pay for the meat. I'm upset because this wasn't agreed upon beforehand. The next day, my sister gave us options. Bring enough food for everyone, help my nephew pay $100, or help my dad pay his water bill, $200 per family. I responded with a fourth option, don't show up. I'm still deciding what to do, but I feel my sister is being unfair.
Shocking porn habits. I'm trying to understand the effects of regular porn watching, especially in relationships. How does it impact intimacy and connection with partners, and is it different for men and women? I want to know the honest truth about how it influences daily life and relationships, and what people have experienced.
Crazy roommate destroying my space. I'm a freshman in college, and every weekend I come back to my dorm to a mess. My roommate stays behind and leaves my space in disarray. This time it's worse clothes and a paper towel under my bed, wrinkled bedsheets with brown stains, and my stuff touched despite my repeated requests to leave it alone. I've had enough of her disregard for my belongings. I found alcohol on the floor, which is a big deal since we're underage and it could lead to housing probation. I'm at my wit's end and considering reporting her to the RA. I know it sounds petty, but I'm desperate for a solution. My side of the room is the left and the mess is evident. I just want some peace and respect for my space. I reported her to the RA and they got her in trouble for the alcohol. Now she's cleaning up her act and we're finally getting along.
Entitled aunt takes over Thanksgiving. With Thanksgiving approaching, I'm still fuming about my aunt's behavior last Christmas. I bake a lot and had made a special bread that required 8 hours to rise. I got up at 5 to finish it, but when I returned to the kitchen, my aunt waved me over and said they'd eaten it for breakfast. I was furious but said nothing. She'd seen me start the bread the night before and even discussed the recipe with my grandma, who told her not to buy rolls because I was baking bread. It was meant for dinner, and with the ham already in the oven, everyone noticed the missing bread. My aunt just shrugged it off while I seethed. I managed to make a different bread, but it wasn't as good. Now, with holidays coming up, I'm relieved she won't be joining us for Thanksgiving.
Wife spies on me. I was on a 2-day snowboarding trip when I found a cheap tracker in my luggage. My wife had snuck it in, not trusting me because an ex lives nearby. Honestly, her constant assumption that I'm being unfaithful is exhausting. I wanted to create some chaos before discussing why she thought this was okay. I considered using the tracker to make her think I was somewhere I'm not, but instead, I decided to have an open conversation. The tracker was the final straw and we're now separating. The experience was a wild ride, and I'm still processing the end of my marriage. I'm focusing on moving forward and tackling the trust issues that plagued our relationship.
Worst jobs for dating. I was on a date with a mortician. It was a total disaster. She was great, but the job talk was a turnoff. We started discussing our jobs and she began sharing gruesome stories. I tried to change the subject, but she continued. I realized some jobs can be detrimental to dating. Jobs like mortician, tax collector, or even a garbage collector might be off-putting. Would you hide your job from a date, or is there a job that would put you off a date? I'm still single, and I think my own job as a sewer inspector doesn't help.
AITA for refusing to financially support my parents and explaining why when my brother asked. I'm 38, and I've been living in a different state from my family for over 10 years, supporting myself the entire time. I didn't grow up with my parents. My grandmother raised me, and I never had a close relationship with them. Last year, on vacation with my siblings, I found out my youngest brother, 29, has been paying our parents' mortgage and living expenses. He asked me why I wasn't helping financially, so I told him honestly our parents didn't support me growing up. I remembered when my grandmother asked me to write them a letter requesting financial support for my education, and my mom wrote back saying my grandmother should teach me not to ask them for money. I still recall that letter, and it stuck with me. My brother was taken aback, but I felt I owed him an explanation. Now I'm no longer in touch with my parents, and I'm at peace with my decision.
Shocking life lessons. I was never taught how to stand up for myself as a young girl, so I had to learn as an adult woman. It was a hard lesson, but I eventually found my voice and learned to set boundaries. I wish someone had taught me that it's okay to say no and prioritize my own needs. Now I'm passing on this lesson to my own daughter so she doesn't have to learn it the hard way like I did. I'm proud of the strong woman I've become, and I'm grateful for the journey that got me here.
Entitled parent discovers my reservation didn't apply to her. I hosted a family gathering at a brewery, reserving a low-top table for my 90-year-old aunt's comfort. As I set up, a large group with infants and strollers hovered nearby, eyeing our table. One woman glared, saying loudly, "I wanted that table." Another guest heard her say, "They didn't even ask," despite my prior reservation and coordination with staff. She fumed at us, feeling entitled to the space with her unreserved group of infants in a bar. The tension was palpable, and I stood firm, knowing I had reserved the table. The woman's behavior was astonishing, and her sense of entitlement was staggering. In the end, we enjoyed our gathering, and the woman eventually calmed down, but the experience left a lasting impression on me.
Feeding the homeless on company dime. I'm a high-level sales engineer at a top 50 tech company that rakes in billions. When I travel to expensive cities like London, Paris, or San Francisco, my meal stipend is over $300 a day. I use this to my advantage, buying extra food to give to a homeless person at every meal. I'll order 6 tacos instead of 4 or add a few extra water bottles. It's technically against company policy, but I believe it's a small act of kindness in a world with many problems. I've been doing this for 2 years, and it always brings a smile to both my face and the person I'm helping. I know it's not the most ethical use of company funds, but I think it's worth it to make a difference in someone's life. I've never been caught, and I plan to keep doing it as long as I can.
Roommate's insane accusation. I've lived in my apartment for over a year with a tall bookshelf by the entrance that's never been a problem. That changed with my new roommate Karen, who claimed it was a safety hazard due to her stumbling into it when she has low blood sugar from diabetes. I offered to move it, but she'd already taken over half the apartment with her own shelves. When I didn't immediately comply, she had a meltdown and went to management, saying I was too stressed from my teaching job to manage basic communication and that she was concerned about my mental state. Management privately confirmed Karen made these comments, but at a house meeting with her present, they denied it ever happened, lying directly to my face. I'm still trying to process how my roommate's ridiculous claim and management's attempt to cover for her has turned my living situation into a nightmare. Now I'm left dealing with the aftermath, wondering how far this situation will escalate and how I'll be able to resolve it.
Roommate in crisis. I recently had to address a smell leaking from my roommate's room into our common areas. I knew he was still reeling from the loss of a dear friend to a drug overdose a few months prior. Instead of complaining, I offered to help him clean his room. At first he declined, but I persisted. Together, we cleaned the room in under 40 minutes, discovering the source of the smell was bad salmon. My roommate's initial resistance gave way to gratitude, and I could see the weight lifting off his shoulders. By showing empathy and lending a hand, I helped him regain control of his space and his life. This experience taught me that sometimes people just need a little motivation and kindness to get back on track. I feel better for having helped, and I hope this story inspires others to do the same for their struggling roommates.
Entitled stranger thought he had a right to tell me whether or not I should dance with someone. I was having a drink at a bar when a girl asked me to dance, but I declined because I wasn't in the mood. She took the rejection well and went back to her friends. However, a random guy sitting near me decided to chime in, telling me I was stupid for rejecting such a beautiful woman. He kept going on for about 5 minutes, saying only a fool would pass up the opportunity. I tried to ignore him, but he wouldn't let up. Finally, a staff member intervened and told him to leave me alone. I was shocked that a complete stranger would be so invested in my decision. The staff member's intervention was a relief, and I was able to enjoy the rest of my night without further harassment. I'm still wondering what prompted this guy to think he had a say in my social interactions. The museum volunteer who very much misunderstood my outfit. I visited a small historical museum a few weeks ago, wearing a maroon sweater and a lanyard with my house keys because it was cold. Apparently, this exact combination made me look like a museum guide. A woman approached me halfway through the exhibits and launched into a 30-minute monologue about a historical sign she disagreed with. I tried to interrupt, saying I didn't actually work there, but she talked over me. She asked who wrote the sign, why it was worded that way, if I could have it changed, and if she could submit corrections. I finally blurted out, "Ma'am, I'm literally here on a date, and we're trying to read the dinosaur bone exhibit." She stopped talking, looked at my date, then at me, and finally at the keys on my lanyard. The awkwardness was palpable, and I was relieved when she finally walked away, leaving us to enjoy the rest of our date in peace. Dating a self-sufficient woman. I'm in my early 30s and single, with a dating history of women who were students, single moms, or unemployed, relying on me for financial support. I'm used to paying for everything, but I'm curious about dating a woman with a good-paying job and financial stability. Would it be a breath of fresh air or complicate things, I wonder. I imagine it could be liberating for both of us, but also potentially create new dynamics, like who pays for what or how we make financial decisions together. I'd love to experience a relationship where we're on equal footing financially, but I'm not sure what to expect or how it would change our interactions. For now, I'm left wondering what it's like to date a woman who doesn't need my financial help. My mom gave away my brand new hoodies and then refused to talk about it. On Thanksgiving, I was shocked to see my nephews walking in wearing the brand new Nike hoodies I had just bought and not yet worn. I immediately called my mom, who wasn't there at the time, and asked her why she gave away my jackets. She claimed they needed a jacket and offered to rebuy them, but I explained that wasn't the point. She could have just asked me. When I pressed her for a better explanation, she became defensive and said she didn't want to talk about it, storming off to her room. This is just the latest in a long string of my belongings that she's taken or used without permission, and I'm furious. I need to understand what makes her think it's okay to take my things without asking, but she refuses to discuss it.
Insufferable mother-in-law's fake heirloom recipe. I'm an avid baker, always expected to bring treats to my mother-in-law's holiday gatherings where everyone complains about everything. After her mother passed, she asked me to make fudge from her mom's recipe, claiming it's the only one she's ever liked. However, the recipe she sent made no sense, was incomplete, and when I asked questions, she got snippy. So I found a basic fudge recipe and made that instead, telling her I figured it out. To my surprise, she loved it, saying it had the same texture as her mom's fudge. She even brags about it being her mom's recipe to others. It's been 5 years and I'm stuck making it every year, but it's become my little secret revenge against her insufferable behavior. I've been using the same basic recipe ever since, and she still thinks it's her mom's. I've come to enjoy the irony of the situation, and it's become a satisfying tradition for me.
Entitled parent demands entire family be invited to birthday party. I'm planning my daughter's 9th birthday party at an indoor water park and invited one of her friends, whose parent I texted to confirm attendance. But the response I got was surprising. They wanted to bring their entire family of 7, including 4 other kids, 2 of whom are toddlers. I was taken aback since my daughter has never hung out with them before, and we're already at 25 guests with a 30-guest limit. I explained the party room's capacity and offered to let them pay for the rest of their family to hang out at a table nearby. But they responded that they might skip it if only one parent and kid were allowed, saying it sounds crazy. I apologized, explaining we're already near capacity, and that was the end of it.
Sister's furry obsession. My younger sister's obsession with furries and thurians is getting out of hand. She recently bought a cat ear and tail at Comic-Con, which I didn't mind, but now she's wearing it to school. My older sister and I are worried she'll get bullied, and we've tried to talk her out of it, but she's being stubborn. We've tried all alternatives, so I'm turning to Reddit as a last resort, hoping someone can offer advice on how to approach this situation without pushing her further away. We're at a loss, and I fear for her well-being if she continues down this path, but so far, she refuses to listen.
My cousin is a total idiot. I left my cousin alone with my boyfriend and cats, and he sent me a disturbing video of himself petting my foster cat harder and harder, despite the cat's obvious discomfort. The video ended with the cat scratching and biting him. When I got home, my boyfriend was trying to calm my cousin down, who was still fuming. I had to delete the video, but I remember the cat's growl. My cousin was shocked, and when I told him the cat doesn't like rough handling, he burst into tears, claiming he thought growls meant the cat loved him. He threw himself on the floor, crying and screaming, and kicked me in the groin, leaving me wheezing. This all happened in front of my shocked boyfriend. My cousin's behavior was unacceptable, and I'm still trying to process what happened. He lives an hour away, and I'm not sure how to deal with him after this incident. I'm just glad my cat is okay, and my boyfriend is still trying to make sense of the whole ordeal.
Stole $130 from Target by mistake. I was buying 2 boxes of Pokemon cards at Target, just a teenager collecting, not a scalper. I scanned one and threw both in the bag. When I got home, I noticed on my receipt I only paid for one, a $130 mistake. I'm scared to come clean, fearing trouble, but not speaking up might lead to worse trouble. I'm worried about my college prospects now. I decided to own up to the mistake and return to Target, explaining the situation to the staff. They were understanding, and I paid for the second box. It was a relief, but also a valuable lesson in honesty and integrity. Now I can move forward, having learned from my mistake.
No kids allowed. I paid $600 extra for a week-long access to the adults-only spa on a Thanksgiving cruise with my husband. But our relaxation was disrupted when a man brought his kid, around 5 to 7 years old, into the spa. The kid was jumping and squirming around while the dad slept or ignored him. The spa attendant politely asked them to leave, citing the adults-only policy. The mom appeared, saying, "Oh, honey, they don't want you in here, so now we all have to leave." I was shocked. Why would they think a spa, a place for quiet relaxation, would be suitable for a child, especially when the ship had plenty of kid-friendly activities like an arcade, kids zone, water slides, and bumper cars. TIFU, by thinking it was normal to not be able to open my eyes in the morning for 25 years. I'm 27, and it's taken me 20 to 30 minutes to open my eyes every morning since I was a kid. My mom said it was just getting used to the light. I planned my mornings around it, setting a second alarm an hour early. But after having a toddler, mornings got rough. One day, I took a picture of my squinty eyes to show a friend how exhausted I looked. She was confused and asked why my eyes were like that. I did some research and found out it's not normal. Most people just open their eyes in the morning. A friend suggested I might sleep with my eyes open, which could be why I have trouble in the morning. I realized my son sleeps with his eyes cracked, so maybe I do too. Now I'm trying to figure out how to change my sleep habits.